Hey friends, welcome back to Lydia's Plate. It has come to my attention, a lot of people have told me that they have actually never made a whole chicken. And yes, these chickens are currently whole, but I actually don't bake them whole like this either. I like to cut them up. I find they bake faster and they fit into my roaster a lot better. I can more easily fit them into my oven and more chickens. So normally for our family, I bake one chicken and I get a lot of leftovers and I end up chopping up a lot of it and throwing it in the freezer for quick, easy meals. I've got a lot of those on my channel, so if you want to check them out and you need some new chicken ideas, lots there. But I have no chicken left in the freezer and it is so incredibly convenient to have that ready to go in the freezer for making all kinds of meals. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you how I cut up chicken. I'm not a professional. I've never worked in a butcher shop or any chicken processing plant. This is just how I have learned to do it. This is how I like to do it. And I just want to be able to help somebody who wants to learn, and it's not as scary as it sometimes sounds. It's actually quite easy if you want to learn. So let's get going. I start off by washing the chickens and making sure they're clean. Yes, we try to have very good quality control on the day that we're slaughtering, but there is so much that happens and the day gets long and tiring, and so it's just always good to double check now as I'm getting it ready for the oven. So I've got a plate here beside me where I can put little scraps and junk that are going to go to the cats and the dog. They will be very excited for this, and then I'm just going to start cutting it up. So I'm going to pop this joint here, and then I can separate the drumstick and the thigh from the rest of the chicken, and I'm just going to keep going like this. And if you don't cut it perfectly the first time, it's not a big deal. You will learn. I've been doing this for many years now, and so I'm still not perfect, but I have gotten a lot quicker and a lot better at it. And you will too if it's something that's important to you or that you're interested in. Just keep trying, just keep going at it. Now it's also much easier to pop the joints here around the neck rather than trying to cut it all perfectly, and often once I have it started, I'll even just pull it apart with my hands. Sometimes inside the cavity of the chicken, along that backbone there may be pieces of lung left, and so this is when I will clean that out as well. Isn't that a beautiful section of chicken breasts? There is going to be a lot of meat there. Another thing I check for are any little pieces of feathers that got missed and left behind on processing day. Usually there aren't very many, and sometimes I will just cut the skin off if there are quite a few or if I can't pull them out. Sometimes those little quill pieces can just be scratched out with fingernails, but sometimes not. So then I'll just cut that whole piece of skin off because nobody here is really eating the skin anyways. In my experience, the wings are the section that are the most difficult for getting totally free of feathers, and so sometimes there's just a little bit of trimming there that is needed where the feathers get stuck in the most. But a little bit of trimming with a knife makes short, quick work of that problem. This chicken that got skinned the previous year looks way smaller. I would guess it is somewhere around 6 pounds. So that is the difference there between approximately a 6-pound chicken and a 10 to 12 pound chicken. So our chickens were very large this last year, which I love that. I don't have a problem between turkey meat and chicken meat, but I do love if it's bigger because that means less work for me with more payoff. So that's a good thing for me. My water was getting pretty gross here already, and because this chicken is skinned, there isn't near as much to clean and watch for on it. So I let the water out and I'll put a little bit back in, but I'm not going to need very much because, as I said, this one was skinned and so it is mostly clean. I'm also just going to wash out my sink a little bit. There's always a little bit of grease that gets stuck around the sides, and I'll do a better washing once I'm all the way done, but I don't want any of that to get onto this already cleaned meat. Now you can kind of see where there was a white fatty line between the breasts and the back, and that's kind of the line that you want to follow to cut to separate your breast meat from your backbone. The backbone doesn't have very much meat on it, but it does have enough that it's worth putting into the roaster. Plus, for the last couple years now, I have also been saving all of my own chicken broth from baking chicken like this and then storing it in 1 to 2 cup containers in the freezer, which is extremely convenient and handy as well. Makes making chicken noodle soup so much quicker. Instead of first spending hours roasting a chicken, I have that broth all ready to go and I can make chicken noodle soup within an hour or two. So it makes it a lot quicker. Now, after I have the chicken all done and out of the sink, I can get the sink all washed, including the plug. I like to make sure that everything is clean. I may even possibly go a little overkill on it and wash it a couple times over just because I like to know that it's all the way clean. So now that that's all done, I'm going to move this chicken over into the lid as much as what I need to till I can get to what's underneath. And then I like to salt and pepper the chicken. This is totally to your own tastes as to how much salt and pepper you like, and it's not something that would need to be done. The chicken is so versatile that if you choose to do it, you can, and if you don't want to, you don't have to, especially if you're crunched for time. I was already getting crunched for time on this day. I prefer to have my chicken roasting low and slow at 300 degrees Fahrenheit from about 12 o'clock or most definitely 1 o'clock already, and then all the way till 5 or 6. I was running behind here on this particular day, and it only got into the oven around 1:45 in the afternoon, and so I set it in there at 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and it was beautifully fall off the bone, tender, soft, and ready by 5:30 once my potatoes and corn and everything else was ready for eating. As you can see, my roaster is getting quite full, and so I wasn't quite sure where I was going to put this last piece, but I did finally get it all fit in so that I was satisfied with how it looked and how it was sitting. And then I can start adding in some water. I only need about ½ inch of water in the bottom, but today with how full I had it, it was a little more difficult to see just how much water I was adding in. So I'm not quite sure how much I did, but I did at least a good ½ inch. I know that for sure. And then just because I like salt and pepper and I wanted to make sure that my chicken was well flavored and that I hadn't washed any of the salt and pepper off by adding water in, that's also why I was adding the water on the sides of the roaster, I just sprinkled salt and pepper over the top again. There we go, it's in the oven, and now I can make sure everything is clean again. So here we go, this is around 5:30, so it's quite a few hours later, and you can see just how tender that chicken is. It is just falling apart, falling off the bone, just beautiful. And it smelled so good. So we're done eating supper now, and I'm going to start cleaning up this chicken. It's had some time to cool, and I need to start separating out all the bones. This did take quite a bit of time, so I will spare you watching all of that. But it's very simple, just picking all the meat off the bones and setting the bones aside because our animals need to eat, and what better way to have real food for them as well instead of pre-manufactured food. So our animals get these bones and we've never had any issues with it. So now I have basically all the meat out of the roaster, and I'm ready to strain the broth because there are always little bits and pieces of fat or possibly meat that stay behind, that get lost in the liquid, and I may not see them. So I like to use the strainer just to get the majority of the bits to stay out of my broth. So those 2 chickens fed us for a meal. We're a family of 6. So we had an entire meal out of this, and then I got 4 medium freezer bags worth of chopped chicken into my freezer. So that's quite a bit. I generally use 1/4 to half of one of those bags for any given meal that I'm making from chopped chicken. So I will be set now for a little while, and especially with summer coming and not wanting to be heating the oven in the heat of summer, that's going to be such a fantastic item to have on hand, a great shortcut for me. And it also made me almost 8 cups of chicken broth, so that's very exciting as well. I am trying to leave a little bit of room in the top of these containers and not fill them up all the way because I will be putting this in the freezer and it will expand a bit. I don't want to have lids popping off, so I'm not quite filling them up all the way as full as I could, but I did get quite a bit, and I can fill them almost all the way full. There we go, guys. It is that easy. I hope that this video has helped you or inspired you to have your own chicken ready to go in the freezer to have those shortcuts for yourself. Life is busy, and when it gets nice outside, we want to be outside, whether it's to play or to work. So I wish you all the best. I hope you're keeping well, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye everyone!